non-Nigerians. We saw commendations from some presidents of some African countries commended President Buhari when he made that statement of visa on arrival for in Egypt. Talk to us. Was it really hasty to make that? Because now the National Assembly is saying no, there are lots of things to be done, the legal framework and all of that. Talk to us. What does it really take to achieve that?
Well,
visa on arrival.
Well, it takes a lot.
Okay.
And the first starting point is the law.
Okay.
Legally speaking, you see, this is the problem with the Buhari administration. Sometimes they have good intention and follow a defective procedure.
Okay.
Number one, we have a document in this country called the Constitution. Yeah. And that Constitution under Section 12 clearly states, and you know, I know we don't have the luxury of time, that if you go abroad and sign any treaty, either ECOWAS treaty or whatever, says that no treaty between the Federation and other countries shall have the force of law except to the extent to which any such treaty has been enacted into law by the National Assembly. Okay. That is the starting point. And leaving that aside, issues relating to immigration, arrival, or whatever, is in the exclusive legislative list, which means that the National Assembly must have a say. Now, leaving that aside, you can't use a policy to override the Act of Parliament. It is never done. You can't even use executive order to override an Act of Parliament. What you need to do, why do we have Parliament? Parliament makes the law, amend the law, or repeal the law. What you need to do is to go to the National Assembly, considering the fact that this is in the executive legislative. You see, what actually happened here, this visa on arrival policy you are talking about, stemmed from what is called in July. The president, there was a treaty, African Continental Trade Agreement.
Exactly.
So that stemmed from there. And once you ratify such a treaty, what the Constitution is saying under Section 12 is that you come home, come to the National Assembly, they pass a law to ratify whatever you agree with those countries. And even the Nigerian Immigration Act, which is here, under Section 20, clearly says the power to issue visa shall be vested in the Comptroller General of Immigration. Do you understand me? It's not vested in the President. The President being the leader of the executive. And what you need to do, you see, what is a policy in the first instance? A policy is a statement of action. And the starting point, when government use policy, you use policy to bring the provision of an Act of Parliament into effect. Take, for instance, if the Parliament passed a law under the Nigerian Immigration Act that a non-national who lives in Nigeria for a period of 15 years shall be granted a Nigerian passport or nationality. What you can do, you now come up with a policy how you are going to bring that provision of the act into effect, that the person needs to prove he has lived in Nigeria, this and that. So that is where the president gets it wrong.
But looking at the procedure, just like you've explained, border closure on one hand, visa on arrival for African countries on the other hand. What do you make of that situation? The president has closed the borders, which
I think
should have given free entry.
Intertwine one way or the other. In one respect, you say you want to avoid transborder criminality, you close the border because people are doing this. On the other hand, on the flip side, you said, look, you don't need a visa to come into Nigeria. But you see, governments all over the world, you can't just wake up and come up with a policy overnight. You need to do what is called an impact assessment. You need to, for instance, if these people arrive in Nigeria, take for instance, and without a visa, that does not mean they're going to be granted entry into Nigeria. It is not that you will get a flight and put them in the next available flight to return to where they are coming from. Where are you going to detain them? Who is going to feed them while they are in detention before you even arrange a return flight for them? Because it's not all of them who will arrive that you are going to send back. And also, when they even enter, because, you know, under the law, you cannot deport people until they enter your country. But before they enter your country, what you need to do is that you can remove them because you are not granting them entry. And the problem with this policy is that if care is not taken, there will be an influx. And if care is not taken, we are going to be spending more money keeping these people in detention here and there. Because if they arrive on Monday, it doesn't mean you are going to get the next available flight. And most airlines don't even like to carry deportees.
Deportees, because it's a burden on them.
Exactly.
They are not paying for it.
So this is where you have the problem.
Okay.
What the president needs to do is to go to the National Assembly and they have an amendment to the Immigration Act to make that to deal with this.
All right. Now, we were talking, we understand there is the Immigration Act that Nigeria has. Now, how adequate is that act covering all of these issues when it comes to the best practices across the world?
Well, look, let me tell you, it's grossly inadequate. Because if you look at the Nigerian Immigration Act, which is here, it's just about 30 pages, in a country of 250 or 300 million people. This is the Immigration Act in the UK. What is the population of the United Kingdom? 65 million. And if you look at this Immigration Act, there is no issue about circumstances relating to revocation. There is no issue about international treaty, like how do we treat asylum seekers if they turn up in Nigeria. And also, there is another issue here that, you see, immigration law is not a law you interpret like other laws because it gives a lot of room for what is called discretion. And this problem which you just mentioned about visa on arrival policy, I don't even know whether that policy is even effective. Let's not talk about the legality of the policy. Because at the end of the day, if you look at the passport index, the best passport you can have all over the world is that of United Arab Emirates, because that allows you to enter about 90 countries without a visa. If you have an American or British passport, you can enter about 47 countries. If you have a Nigerian passport, you can enter about 42 countries. But most of those countries are Rwanda, Uganda, and all these countries. You understand me? So this visa on arrival policy, I don't even know whether we really need it. Let's not even talk about it.
But if you look at the legal, I would like to take you back to the legal implication.
Yes,
now that the president has announced this policy, what's the legal implication? The
legal implication is that, you see, you have to be very careful of what is called pack of the cigarette policy and say, look, smoking kills, and people are still smoking daily. You see, the implication of this is that, number one, if this gets challenged in court, it will probably be struck down because issues relating to immigration and nationality has to go through the National Assembly. And they have to enact it in the exclusive legislative list. That is one important thing. And the second point is that if you look at the Immigration Act, issue relating to visa, anybody coming to Nigeria is there under Section 15 of the Nigerian Immigration Act, that you need a visa to come. So what the president needs to do is to have this amended one way or the other. And it's not limited to that. Instead of focusing on Africans coming to Nigeria, what we need to focus on is that how Nigeria, you see, citizenship couldn't write. And one of those rights under international law is that as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, of any country, you must be able to come into that country without any let or hindrance. Nigerians are being hindered day in, day out, despite having, you see, what is a passport? A passport is an acknowledgement of nationality. A birth certificate is just a gateway to nationality. That's why you can't use it to travel. And I will tell you, if you look at a Nigerian passport, you will see when you are going out as a citizen,
copy of your passport.
This is mine. Okay. You will see immigration officer stamp, seen on departure, seen on arrival. Citizen of a country who has a passport. This is the British passport, which I've had the privilege of using on so many occasions. When I come in or go out, nobody stamp it, because it comes within the context of the benefit of being a citizen, that you can come into your country, you can go out. How come when Nigeria, if you travel to Australia, it's 14 hours from London to Australia, and you are coming to Nigeria, it's another 6 hours. That's about 20 hours. When you get to Nigeria, you spend another 1 hour getting to immigration there so that somebody can stamp you that you are seen on arrival.
But isn't it because maybe we don't have the database where, or the computer system or computerized system where you can, the moment you come in, the system acknowledges that you have come in. This has to be done because we don't have the backup data system.
I take your point, but take my point that why don't we have it? What is the big deal of having a computerized system that you know those who are coming in and those who are going out? And nations are now issuing what you call an iris passport, whereby when you get to the immigration, you just you put your eye on the hole, and then you go through. These are the benefits of citizenship. And the problem we have is that, look, in this great country of ours, how come you have passport offices here and there? I've said this during a seminar at the Nigerian International Institute of International Affairs, that what we need to do is to break the immigration service into two. Let us have an enforcement section. Let us have a nationality section. It is practically impossible having immigration offices at every local government where people just go for passport. Do you understand? The nationality office will deal with that. The enforcement will deal with those who enter this country illegally. And that is what the president needs to look at. You see, in this great country of ours, we have 450 illegal routes in which you can use to enter the country. And what they've done by having all these immigration offices here and there is just to create a job for the boys. Did you ever see them going here and there, enforcing, picking illegal people who are in the country? And also we need to amend our immigration act to make sure that those who are to be deported, they have a legal route where they can challenge their deportation. But what happened, they ran them up and they just send them out of the country. That is not.
All right, so as it is right now, January 2020 may not be feasible to implement the president's...
Well, you see, the point is, you see, the onus is on the Senate, whether they want to hit their ships with honey or vinegar. What they need to do is to tell the president that this is not the right way to go. And I think there's an appointment with the Minister of the Interior to come and defend this policy. That why are you using policy to bypass Parliament? Why is it that you don't bring a bill so that we can amend it? I'm not saying Nigeria should not sign any treaty and what have you. The Constitution says if you sign that treaty, it will not be effective unless you come to the National Assembly. And what they are doing is to follow the European Union. Even when the United Kingdom joined the European Union, we have the European Community Act of 1972 that bring all treaties or laws passed by the European Union into effect. So what you need to do is to come home and domesticate it. And that's not what this president has done. And why do you need to go to Egypt to announce this visa on arrival policy? And the problem with this president is that it is only when he goes abroad that he come up with something good. I don't know whether because of the change of environment.
But let's look at
let's look
at the goodness that this policy would bring. Yes. You know, the president said that it would increase or boost the investment in transportation and other sectors. So it's goodwill. It's goodwill. It's goodwill message for African countries.
I know that's what you will like
to gain
say.
entry into Nigeria.
That is it. But you see, that's the problem. You see, that would be too narrow to be effective, because if you are only looking at the benefit, you need to look at the implications as well, in the sense that there is one important thing you need to appreciate. International migration and international crime goes hand in hand. If you get to some countries as we speak, they don't know what is called 419. It is only when some citizens of certain countries start coming that they develop this concept of 419 and duping people. So once you have a visa on arrival policy and you said, okay, it's going to bring the necessary investment and what have you, that's fine. That's the good aspect. But at the same time, we need to look at, are criminal elements going to use this as an opportunity to enter the country? And if they enter the country, how do we deal with it? So you need to look at both sides of it.
Look at all the sides.
Look at what we have on our table. The visa policy, a directive being given by President Muhammad Buhari. He announced it recently. Looking at how this will benefit, I love benefits. I like to see the good side of things before we criticize the policy now. Let's look at the economic implication this will have on the country.
Yes, well, by and large, it's going to have an economic benefit, and nobody is arguing against that. But what we are saying is that we have a constitution in Nigeria. You see, you can't say because of economic, no country on the world have what is called open border immigration policy again. What is happening now all over the world is what is called managed migration, whereby these are the number of people you want to allow into your country at a particular point in time. even in America, it is Congress that determines the number of people who will enter the country. Once that number is exhausted, that's why when you go to American embassy, out of 10 people, only 2 get the visa, because, you know, the number is about to be exhausted. And if there's a problem, you can go back to Congress and they will increase the number. Even in the United Kingdom, Australia, and all these other countries, what they are doing now is called skill migration, whereby, you know, the new Prime Minister said he's going to come up with what is called point-based system. We just don't want everybody to come in. You need to show you have the skill, you need something you are bringing into that country. That is what is going on. And if you want to have a visa on arrival policy, it has an economic benefit, we all know that, but it is not everybody that is coming into the country will bring that economic benefit we are talking about. Some of them have a criminal background, so we need to be very careful about that. And the problem with Nigeria is that, you see, in their fiscal and monetary policy, they are not using immigration as part of that, and that is wrong. If you go to Malta today, you can get the Maltese passport if you have $500,000 to invest in the economy. Even in United Kingdom, they have what is called Tier 1 and what have you. If you have £200,000, which you are ready to invest, that will lead to you being granted the residence. And Nigeria needs to key into that. Forget the visa on arrival policy. If we can give Nigerian nationality to you, if you have 500,000 to bring into Nigeria to invest, and at the same time you must be ready to go and construct 3 classrooms in a local area. Once we satisfy that, we are ready to give you the nationality. That can bring the economic benefit. And also you will recall, about a year or 2 ago, some people from South Africa, they are in this country, and unfortunately they lost their life because they are here on a spiritual journey. You see, Parliament must be able to react to situation. And by now, the Nigerian Immigration Act should have been amended that if you are coming to Nigeria, either we call it a faith visa or what have you, that at the same time, you must, 1, be coming to a place of worship. Number 2, you must have booked an hotel in a local area. That is 2. Number 3, while you are here for that spiritual healing, you must be ready to visit places of interest. Oluma Rock, we'll do this, and you must show that evidence. You understand me? With that should be the direction. Exactly, that should be the direction, and you will develop the local economy by so doing. And the urban and rural migration will stop, because people will still get a job. And it's not limited to that. Most of these countries have what is called visa waiver policy. Nigeria doesn't even benefit from that. They just go and apply for a visa and they refuse them. It's just because of the way we issue our passport and so many other things.
Which is a concern already.
Which is a matter of serious concern. And at the same time, what you need, these are the same countries, when it is August now, they will come and recruit Nigerian students. There's going to be fear here and there, because they know they're going to bring a lot of money into the economy. How come we are coming up with a visa on arrival policy now? You have about 47 private universities. How many people are coming from African countries to come and study in Nigeria? These are the things we need to encourage. And at the same time, we need to try as much as possible, and for the government to let people know that Nigerians are citizens and they have a right, because citizenship and rights come together. That you can't just take their money. They apply for a visa to visit your country. As soon as they turn up, you just give them a paper. There is no reason in the paper. You just refuse out of 10, you refuse 8, and you don't refund their money. It can't go on that way. And at the same time, this visa on arrival policy, there should be an immigration summit whereby we will discuss whether this has the economic benefits which Sarah is more concerned about.
All right. Sarah, you're in trouble.
I like to see the good
Sarah,
side.
you're in trouble.
We have to see the good side. We have to talk about the advantages.
All right. Now the president has made that statement, and it's public, where it's gaining commendation from some African presidents so far. But bringing it back home now, like you said, that certainly the National Assembly must be carried along first. Exactly. So if we have to get into the realities of what should be done right now, although it seems like maybe January might not be feasible due to the process by which, but what has to be in place right now for that to kick off?
Well, what has to, the first starting point, put a stop to the policy first, so that this policy could be well scrutinized by Parliament. We have Parliament in this country, and what you can do, we have a primary legislation, which is the Nigerian Immigration Act of 2015. Then you can have a secondary legislation, even if that is what you want to do because of the reality of the situation. So you need to present a bill. Parliament will discuss that. Stakeholders will get involved. It gets to committee stage and what have you. And then we can come up with, you see, it's not even about visa on arrival policy. We need to go deeper than that. And make sure
Nigeria can benefit.
That especially, and also this idea of Nigerians going out of their country, despite having a Nigerian passport, being born in Nigeria, and you are stamping them out, that's seen on departure, and they come back and kill before immigration officer seen on arrival. And nobody is using the statistic. Why are you stamping your citizen out and in? Out of their own country where they were born, where they have the nationality. If you have a passport is an acknowledgement of citizenship. Birth certificate is a gateway to nationality. That's why you can't use birth certificate to travel out of the country. You need to have a passport. And once you give them a passport, you are acknowledging they are citizens of that country. They must be able to come in and go out. There is no need wasting time and asking your citizen to queue for immigration
and collecting some kind of charges.
All right.